All right, Nathaniel Lackey, one of Orange Slice's finest, with us
Yes.
today.
Yes.
Welcome.
Today is the day.
Today is the day.
Back to the podcast.
Back to the podcast. You're normally behind the camera and
This
the
is true.
scenes, but today we have you on. It's a special time, so we got a ton of stuff to share with people, and I think we just need to start with an introduction. You want to just tell people like what your story is? Yeah, maybe what you do here, where you're from, you know.
Yeah. So my
I
official.
can butt in whenever I want, I feel like.
Yeah. If you want to send it somewhere, just go right ahead. So the short pitch of what I do here. My title is the digital marketing specialist for Orange Slice. So I do everything from advertising. So for a handful of our clients, we do Facebook ads, Google ads, all that kind of good stuff, which of course you're very familiar with.
SEO, obviously.
Yeah, is one of the sides. Analytics is a big piece of what I do, so I'm always looking at the numbers.
And you're
trying
being
to
a
figure
little
out how to track
humble about
stuff.
it, but you're pretty much a badass at this stuff. And
I know a thing or two.
Yeah, and there's a reason.
Because I've seen a thing or two.
Yeah.
Start pulling out more like ad quotes.
I know a thing or two. So you've been working for us for almost
July 2021.
2021,
We're
so
about
almost
to,
3 years.
yeah, by the time this podcast releases, I think it's actually the day this podcast releases.
You're going to be three.
It will be the
Happy
third
works
year.
Anniversary, man.
Let's go.
That's so cool.
We made it.
I didn't even realize that. Things fly. It's just time
I know.
flies. So so we're here today. We want to talk about something you've done that was probably a bucket list thing for you and maybe a lot of other people. Other people would be like, "Fuck no, I'm never doing a marathon in my life." For some reason, you decided you wanted to do a marathon, and I know your running history at Kent Lake High School, where you started sort of getting into running and doing some 5Ks and had some pretty good times from what I could see. 18-minute 5K, which is like 6-minute pace ish.
Speedy.
It's very speedy. Impressive. And, I know a little thing or two about running because I've done a marathon and I used to work at Skinny Raven, which is Alaska's premier running store, who you did a training group with for this event. And
Raven Run Club.
when you told me you were doing the marathon, I was like, oh, cool. Yeah, that's awesome. If I can help, let me know. And yeah, we ended up
taping the shoes.
Yeah, there's the inserts with the tape in the shoes. But tell everybody a little bit about like how did this come about? You were running short distances, obviously, in high school, and never had really run a huge distance, maybe above a 10K. So what is it that sort of triggered this sort of desire to go do this marathon?
Yeah, so a bit of background on the running side. Like you already mentioned, I ran in high school. That kind of came out of like even in elementary school, everybody was on the track team basically.
Yeah.
So I was trying out all kinds of stuff, just learning, having fun, and just moving my body basically, like what you need the elementary schoolers to do. Just go move, go do stuff. And in middle school, I wanted to try and switch things up, so I had a little stint as a wrestler, and then switched back into track and field in the spring. And then high school, everybody was moving to different high schools in my friend group, so we're like, we got to make new friends. And I found out that my high school, Kent Lake, was doing a summer training program for the cross country team because they start early for the fall, and then as soon as you start classes, like the season's going.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a great way to spend some time during my summer to get to meet all of the different grade levels. So I'd have friends in seniors, juniors, sophomores, all the way through, meet some new freshmen potentially. And that just felt like a good idea to me. So I started running, and I'm a thinker. I like to sit and think. I don't listen to music while I run. That's probably one of the weird things about me.
That is weird. When you told me that, I was like, you don't just like listen to a podcast or something? Nothing.
No, I something about it. I just can't do it.
You just zen out.
Yeah, so I'll think. I'll like sort through my thoughts, and that'll be like my meditation kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would run through high school and found out I was decently fast.
Yeah.
not necessarily ever on the varsity team. The closest I got, that 18 number that you were mentioning, was I think it was first alternate for one of the bigger races. I think maybe state. Our team went to state. We had some
Okay.
pretty good runners. I can't remember exactly, but I was an alternate for the varsity team. That was the closest I ever got to that. So I never really saw myself as like a really fast runner or like amazing at what I do.
Mm-hmm.
And for that reason, going into college, I never decided to
You
pursue
didn't
running.
pursue it.
I didn't
Yeah.
pursue it. I didn't even do it for fun. I didn't do any sports in college at all, actually. And
That was weird. You didn't exercise?
I mean, I was out hiking and walking around campus,
But no, you didn't
but
like actually like go to the gym or like have a running regimen.
no. The closest I did was there was a required PE course that you're supposed to do, and
Interesting.
I think I did yoga, and it wasn't even like a real yoga class. It was I wish I could remember the name because
Like
it was so good.
calisthenics or something.
No, it was whatever the yoga was. It was like how to sleep well.
Oh my gosh.
So it was like laying on the ground kind of yoga and not doing anything.
Oh,
Something
weird.
vinyasa maybe.
Vinyasa.
I don't remember what the word
Vinyasa
is.
like a specific flow, like when you do your
Yeah,
vinyasa.
I can't remember, but it was like a chill, like you're not moving really.
For the whole class, every class?
Pretty much. Pretty much. There's like studying of like different kinds of like resting techniques and how yoga fit into that, or like meditation.
The
and stuff.
savasana?
Maybe that's what it was.
Savasana is where that's corpse pose, they call it. They just where you
I can't
lay,
remember.
where you
Anyways,
just lay there, relax.
yeah.
That's hilarious.
So college didn't really do anything.
Yeah.
And then eventually, I moved up here.
Yeah, you graduated college and basically moved to Alaska.
Boom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for a little background on how I met Nathaniel, Nathaniel was working with, was roommates with Bryce, who is our web developer, who we met through one of our clients who did one of our clients' websites. And then I hit him up. And then we were going back and forth and working together on websites. And then he was like, oh, you should talk to my friend. He does ads.
Yep.
And I'm like, great. And so we connected with you on a contractor basis, and now, and then we finally convinced you to move up and hired you full time. So
And here I am.
yeah, so that was awesome.
Yeah. So that
Thanks
worked
for
out
making
well.
that leap. But back to what made you sign up for Mayor's Marathon?
Yeah. So now there's the background of running and like kind of where I tapered off and stopped really doing a ton of like big exercises or like consistently getting out there. I think it was like all of 2021, I didn't have a car. So I was, like after I moved up here, I didn't have a car for the first year, which you were aware of. I was walking around town, taking the
Biking,
bus, cycling. When you gave me your bike, I was cycling around that way. And that was like my exercise. That was how I was getting around. And when I got a car, I realized it's like, I'm going to get so much less exercise.
Yeah.
I've got to do something about that.
Okay. I didn't know that was a precipice up there.
So that was one part of it. I didn't know what that was going to look like. For example, it could have been cycling more often, or maybe it was just going to the gym.
Yeah, you just knew you needed to move.
I needed to be moving and doing something, especially during the winter when it's so cold and you just don't want to be outside anyways.
Yeah.
But that was kind of like the hint of the start of something there, of like, okay, I need to move, I need to do something. And when I started going to the gym, I was going to Planet Fitness near my house.
Where you got your bike stolen.
And my bike got stolen from there,
From
so I
Planet
couldn't
Fitness.
cycle around anywhere.
Yeah. That was the end of the bike.
And so that was the end of the bike. I had the car, so I wasn't really walking around as much. And going to the gym, I didn't really have like a goal necessarily. There was nothing to aim for, so
Yeah.
it was really off and on. I wasn't going consistently. I didn't have like a plan. I really have never ever gone inside of a gym to
Hit the
weight
weights.
lift.
Yeah.
So I didn't know what I was doing. I was just sticking to the machines of like, okay, this looks fine. Like
Yeah.
it feels a little difficult, whatever. And I eventually came across a couple things. There's a bunch of like little triggers of like, oh, maybe it's running is what I need to do. I came across this YouTube channel, Philly Bowden. She is a British Olympic trials hopeful female athlete. I found her YouTube channel, and she had a kind of similar story of going from like cross country or some of these shorter distance runs up to trying to compete at a really high level, doing her first marathons when I was finding her.
So it made you kind of inspired you to
I
think
was like,
maybe like
oh,
I could do that.
maybe I could do something like really hard. Like there's a goal, there's something I can aim for,
Yes, and
something
train for.
big. And she was sharing a lot of like different thoughts and ideas of how you could train and different like training days. So instead of just going out and doing one run at this specific pace, you could break it up into run faster in this section or slower in this section, etc. So that was another piece. So one, I need to be active. Two, I
You
kind of
discovered
know
this.
some. I discovered Philly, and I was also thinking, okay, I have some background in running already. This would be something that I could easily build into. I'm familiar with it. I know how the training works. I wouldn't necessarily need a coach to move on to the next stage.
Sure.
And
That's a big jump from going from a 5K
I
to
know.
a marathon.
So that was the other piece is I didn't want to do something that I was just super like familiar with or like I
That was
knew I
very.
could
You
do
didn't want to do
already.
anything that was super easily achievable, right? Like
Yeah, like initially my first goal was I want to get back to my high school times. Like is that even possible? Can I get under a sub 20 right now? And I trained and
a sub 20-minute 5K.
yeah,
for
sub
those
20-minute
people.
5K.
Yeah.
Yeah, that which sub 20-minute marathon, amazing. World records.
So you did that,
I
right?
decided to go for that and spent a summer just training. And by the end of the summer, with like 8 weeks, 10 weeks of training, I was already there. I was like, great, amazing. So I wanted to see how much further I could push it. Originally, it was just running 5Ks and how fast can I go? And eventually, after the summer, we got to the October, or what was that? What is it? The Frightful 4K?
Frightening for 4K. Yeah. Yeah.
The Skinny Raven run. It was just a short one. How fast can I go?
Yeah.
And I hit an amazing time. I think it was like 12 minutes
12 minutes.
or just over 12 minutes. It was super fast for that race.
Yeah.
Way shorter than a 5K. I was like, oh, wow. Maybe I can work up to like faster
Was it
stuff.
like 2.4 miles or something?
2.5.
2.5 miles
on the nose.
exactly. Got it.
So I did that, and then I was like, okay, cool. Let's see if I can shoot for like a top 1% time for a 5K, like in the world. That's like or top 5% is 17 minutes, 44 seconds.
Got it.
Maybe I can do that. So for Thanksgiving, November, or no, this would have been afterwards. So yeah, October was the 4K. November would have been the Huffin' for Some Stuffin', which is a great name for a race, by the way.
This was back home.
Yeah, back home. I went to Spokane with my family and
Yeah, because
ran
usually
a
they're called
5K.
turkey trots pretty commonly, but this is
Yeah.
Huffin' for a.
Huffin' for Some Stuffin',
Stuffin'.
which was a great race
That
name.
is a good name.
But I just wanted to send it and see if I could break 18 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, let's just go all out, like push myself, go
Did you do
really
it?
hard. And the course had the thinnest layer of ice over the entire thing. I didn't have any spikes. Or
No ice
anything.
bugs?
No ice. I wasn't running ice bugs at this point. And I was running in these shoes that
Oh,
I'm wearing
no.
today. And
You were slipping.
I was slipping all over the place.
Especially when you're running that fast, your energy return isn't there.
Yeah, I had no control. I ran a pretty decent time. I was like 18:38 or something like that. But I ended up injuring myself during that. So I had to take a break from the end of November into December and January. And this is when I really made the decision to go for the marathon. Okay, I've injured myself here. What can I possibly build up to?
Yeah.
What is something new that I could try? I've never really challenged myself in this way.
Wait, you didn't even think like
physically.
maybe I should do a half marathon? No, I didn't.
Why not? Why not just go for the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
So, because I was watching Philly too, and she had done 2-3 marathons at this point, and I was like,
Yeah.
I could try
I'll
that.
do that.
I could try that. So I just decided, like after I had recovered from my hip injury from that run, I was like, okay, let's just start to go for it. So I slowly started building into it. I was following some online training plans, and the whole point of even trying this and going for it in the first place was, one, this is a physical challenge for me. I've never challenged myself physically in this way before. 2, do I even like long distances? Am I like a middle distance 5K, 10K runner? Is
Yeah.
that something I prefer? Do I just want to like work on speed training in that kind of thing?
Yeah. So this is going to allow you to explore that side of it, the
Yeah,
other side of the running coin.
exactly. And then the other part of it for me personally is there's kind of two sides to the same idea is you hear people use the phrase like it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah.
And I didn't really know what that meant. And in the back of my mind, I was like, this would be a good way to actually figure out what that means.
I'm pretty
And
sure you can know what that means without doing it,
but you have a
really
whole new respect
Oh,
for the
yeah.
meaning.
Totally.
So, which is absolutely true. After running the marathon, I know it means something completely different than I thought. But then the other side of that is, you know that I go to church a bunch and I'm reading my Bible all the time. You've seen me sitting down and studying during lunch. And there's a bunch of phrases in there and like verses and parables that reference running and races and especially like longer distance
Huh? I didn't know that.
things.
In
Like,
the Bible.
yeah, running in step with the Spirit or like walking in step with the Spirit. And I was like, okay, I wonder if there's some like understanding that I could have from actually going and doing
Oh, so it was a part
run.
of your spiritual journey was to
As
do
well.
this
So, yeah.
as well.
All these different pieces started lining up, and I was like, let's just go for it.
Yeah.
This makes sense. I'm going to learn something, and that was really the point. Is this something I enjoy? This is going to help me understand like a whole other side of the running world that
Yeah.
I've never explored. So yeah, really the reason why, if you're going to sum all of the last like 5-10 minutes that I've been talking,
Yeah.
is I wanted to learn something.
Yeah.
I wanted to try something new and
Learn something
explore.
about yourself and potentially have get further on your spiritual journey.
Exactly.
Cool.
So that's where all like from a big wide standpoint down to the point.
Yeah, and
what that is.
there's a lot. I understand you. You started training with the Skinny Raven training group. What point was that?
I think I found them at the end of summer of 22.
Oh, okay. When you were
Or no, 23 it would have been. Because
Last
it was
year.
just at the close of summer.
Yeah.
I was just starting to train like really fast
Okay.
for the 5Ks.
But what did you? How did you decide what marathon to do? Like where did that come from? Because there's a not a ton. I wouldn't say not in Alaska, but there is 5 or 6 at least.
Yeah, I wanted to do
Marathons.
something local for sure.
Yeah.
I didn't want to have to fly
Yeah.
away for my first marathon. And I will admit that I had this like Boston hopeful. It's like,
Yeah.
I'm pretty fast. Like I can, because in the run club that I was a part of and some of the races I was in, like even the 4K, I was number 9 in the race.
Yeah. Which is awesome.
Yeah. And I was like, well, if I'm speedy and I'm hitting these times, maybe I could actually just get a Boston qualifier, which is like sub 3 hours for the marathon.
Yeah, and Mayor's Marathon is a Boston qualifier.
And again, that was one of the reasons is, okay, Mayor's Marathon is a Boston qualifier. It actually does count. It's local. I don't have to go very far. And the timing-wise, if I didn't get Boston time for this marathon, it would give me enough time to recover and train for a second marathon later in the year.
Yeah. Okay. And in your training journeys, you had some pretty, I don't know, interesting training runs. Is that right? Like what, did you have like some kind of,
Are you trying to go for that story?
I don't know if there's another one too. I don't know. I wasn't on all your training runs, just the one that included a bear chase, but we'll get to that later.
We'll get to that. Yeah. A little sneak peek. No, I don't think really there was any.
Okay, wait.
Well, actually,
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was going to say, this isn't necessarily just limited to my long runs, but just generally something that I've found about myself is I get so in the zone when I'm running that I see nothing. And what that means is I will come around the corner and there will be a moose like as close as you and me, and I don't see it, and then I have somebody yell at me, and I turn and look, and there's the moose.
Oh
I'm
my
like,
gosh.
oh no!
So you're so like deep in your head, deep in thought, and deep in just like
Yeah.
thinking that you.
I will get
mean, we've
myself-
all been there, right? I mean, you can have your eyes wide open sometimes and just be daydreaming, right?
Yeah.
And that's pretty much what you do. You go into kind of a trance, which is common for long distance runners or ultra runners, which is a popular thing now. People going over 50K. to be able to put themselves in that trance, because you don't want to be focused on how thirsty you are, or how hungry you are, or how bad everything hurts.
Everything hurts. Yeah.
But yeah, before we go on to this big story about your longest long run leading up to this, we have to just sidetrack about your discovery on the side of the road while walking out of the bus
Oh
stop.
my goodness.
What did you find when you got off the bus over there off of, where was it?
So it wasn't necessarily off the bus. I went to drop off my car.
Oh, that's right. You were dropping off your car at
to get an
the
oil
the oil
change.
change place.
Just super convenient for me. And
Yeah.
it's within walking distance of the office. So the way I'll tie this in is it's a cross training thing. You gotta walk.
Yeah, you got to walk it out a little bit.
You can't run all the time. You gotta slow down just a little bit.
Yeah.
But what Seth is trying to get at here is this comes from my family background, kind of. There's a little bit of a
You guys are
tie in
lucky.
here. Lucky Lackey was my dad's nickname, so there's a little shout out to him. In high school, his whole story is he would be walking around in the schoolyard or in a parking lot somewhere, and my brothers and we all have the same thing that happens. We'll be walking around, we'll find a $5 bill, a 20, we'll find a $100 bill.
Yeah.
And
Oh, you found a lot more than
yeah.
that.
So for the first 24 years of my life, really never found much. My luck had to do more with the weather is really nice on days that it's convenient for it to be nice. And now, to go back to what Seth is trying to call out, is I was walking from having dropped off my car to the office because they're close enough together. And I was again in this trance-like state, wasn't really paying attention, and just walking down the street. And then something out of the corner of my eye just caught my attention, and I was like, what is that? Something about it looked off. I thought at first it was a folded paper cup, somebody had smashed it and then folded it in half. But something that looked strange about it. So I went to look at it a little bit closer, and I picked it up, and I found out that it was a wad of cash. And I was like,
How much was it?
what? So I looked at it a little bit closer just to see, and it was a $100 bill on the outside. I was like, wow, that's pretty cool.
Did your heart rate jump up a little bit?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I was
I mean, it would for anybody. You get excited when you find something like this.
It wasn't even excitement.
Excitement or just
it wasn't even excitement. It was anxiety of should I have this?
Oh yeah, it's scary. It's holy shit.
What is this, and where did this come from, kind of thing?
Because it's someone's property. Technically, somebody dropped the money, and so people think oh, finders keepers. But it's if you dropped your phone on the ground and somebody found it, they would be obligated to try to find the person that.
Yeah. But the weird thing about this is you have this wad of cash, and I'm like, okay, cool. So it's in a rubber band, and it's all folded up, and it's pretty big. I mean,
yeah, size of your fist, basically.
Size of your fist, almost. That's a lot of money, assuming it's all hundreds. So I start thumbing through it to see how much it is, and every single one I see is a $100 bill. I was like, oh my goodness, what is going on? So I stop and I look around, and it's breakup season, so the snow is melting, the ice is melting around town, and so there's just snow there. It's wet, sopping wet. Looked like it was sitting or had just recently melted out of some snow or something like that. No one was around. There's a bus stop, so maybe somebody was trying to get on the bus or something. There was a couple apartment complexes nearby, and I was like, maybe they were trying to pay rent or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I was just I don't know if I should keep this. I don't want to just leave it on the ground.
How much was it? You counted it, right, at that time?
Yeah, I come to the office, and I sit here, the first one here, and I actually sit down, unfold the money, and try and count it all. It ends up being $5,500.
$5,500.
Mind blown. I was I've never had this much cash in my hand before. I was like, that's crazy.
That's what you paid for your car, wasn't it?
5,000. Yeah. So, having just dropped off the car, having the apartments nearby, riding the bus, I was like, dang, this is this was me. I could have had this much cash in hand and lost it myself. So I decide to try and figure out okay, what do I do with this?
What does
my
one do?
my heart is simply to, okay, I don't think I can keep this.
Yeah.
I think this is so much money that it has to go somewhere else. There's
Yeah.
got to be like a process in place somewhere,
Yeah.
like to deal with this money. And again, like I said, this is the other half of the story. Like being religious and like reading the Bible as much as I do, literally the day before, I read this passage that was explaining like what you're supposed to do with lost property.
Yeah.
And
What does it say?
Basically, it says if you have two people, if you have somebody that finds the lost property and they're like, this is mine, finders keepers. And then you have somebody else that's like, no, that's mine. They fight over it. And whoever in court, they fight over it in court. And whoever is determined that it's their money, the other person has to pay twice whatever
As much,
it was worth.
whatever it would. Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so they give the money plus that amount.
Wow.
And I was like, I mean, if that were legally how it works here, there's no way I could afford that. I
Yeah.
couldn't deal with it. So,
But that was in your head nonetheless.
it was all in my head,
Yeah.
and I was like, I just felt guilty. I was like, it was the amount that maybe someone was trying to buy a car
Yeah.
or trying to pay for rent or something like that. I don't know. A couple months of rent if they were behind. So I look online and find out there's this whole process that the MOA has, the municipality of Anchorage, to like turn in lost items to the police, and then assuming somebody doesn't find it or doesn't claim it, then it goes back up to just maybe you could have it,
Yeah.
assuming you wanted it. So I ended up doing that and just
You ended up taking it to the police came and got it.
I-
No, I was here. I saw the
yeah.
police
I called the
in.
police office. I called the police office and told nobody in the office. Nobody knew. At
Nobody
all.
knew.
And it was amazing. This is a great story. I was sitting there. I had the wad of cash. I had not told anybody in the office. People were coming in. People were sitting down. People were starting to work. And all of a sudden, like other people in the office see that a police car pulls up to the front of the building. And they can see him like parking in kind of a weird spot. And they're like, what is this? They told me this after the fact. They're kind of confused. Police officer gets out, no lights on, just walks in the office. And they were, Savannah was making a comment. She was like, it'd be so funny if they came into our office. And sure enough, the police officer opens the door and comes into our office. I turn around with my hands like this and say, you must be here for me. And he says, Nathaniel, that's the one. And then that was all we said to each other. I got up and just handed him the wad of cash. So from everybody else's perspective in the office, I just handed this cop a giant brick of
It looked
cash.
like you were bribing the cop or something.
No context at
Yeah.
all. Nobody had any
so
idea what was
weird.
going on. So he asked me the story. I proceeded to tell him basically what you have all heard at this point, and he takes the cash and away it goes.
Yeah. And what's the process for getting? You will get that money potentially.
Yeah,
If.
there's a big if there. Basically, like I had explained, the process is you turn in the cash, you wait like 90 days or something like that, 180 days
For people to claim it.
for the owner to claim it, for it to go through processing, and just to double check it against different crimes and do whatever they need to do. And at the end of that process, if the owner doesn't claim it, if it's not associated with any criminal activity that they, as far as they can see, then it goes up to items to be claimed. And the first people that get the option to get it are the owner themselves or the finders keepers, basically.
The guy.
Assuming you want it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it gets claimed by the MOA.
So if they come back to you and say like nobody claimed this money, do you want it? What are you gonna say?
I mean, why not, right?
Are you serious?
Yeah, it's
You're
like,
gonna say yes.
sure. Yeah, it's like, I don't know what I'd do with it, but
Well, you take us all out to dinner.
Yeah,
first
we're
of
all gonna
all.
go. I'm gonna
We'll go out to dinner and maybe I don't know.
have a great time.
have a
We'll all
great
go on
time.
vacation.
Yeah,
It'll be
maybe,
awesome.
I don't know if we can all go on vacation,
Or
but maybe
$5,000.
to a staycation somewhere, Girdwood
Somewhere
or
local.
something.
Yeah.
Go to the spa. Yeah, that'd be nice.
So, yes, my adventures on the sidewalks of
Are
Anchorage
included
or
finding
running the
$5,500.
Yeah. You get all kinds of crazy stuff going on.
All right, so back to training.
Back to training.
So I got to preface this with my offer to sort of like asking you like when's your long run, because I was like maybe I'll maybe I'll join you for your long run is what I was thinking, like 20 miles, and I could join you for maybe like 5 or 6 miles of it or something. And you were going to run by my house as a part of running the course anyway. And then you told me your mileage pace, and I was like, oh, I can't run that fast. I think you told me 640 is what you were.
640,
640 mile pace, which I'm more of a 9 to 10 minute guy at this point. So, and then I proceeded to just offer to bike next to you. So you were doing this on a Sunday?
Saturday.
Saturday. Yeah, so Saturday comes, you're texting me like, hey, I'm getting close, I'm getting close.
As I'm running.
Yeah, and I came down on my bike off the trail from my house and right onto Chester Creek where you were coming by and met up with you, and you immediately tell me the story about what just happened to you, which was pretty amazing. And in fact, I had it on, I had videoed you because I just wanted to get a video of you running as you came up to me. So I had started my video, and then you start telling me the story about how you just came from the Kincaid Park area and ran into a little friend. And yeah, I'll let you take it from there.
Yeah. So we may play the clip here.
Yeah.
So you can hear the story that way. But anyways.
And show the picture.
And show the pictures and everything. Yeah. So the story that I started telling Seth when we met up on the trail was essentially I got charged by a bear in the middle of my run. And I was surprised by it. I had no idea.
Welcome to Alaska.
Well, no idea. Exactly. So the background here is today, the day of this run, was supposed to be my longest run of my training block. So this is the long run, they call it. It's 20 miles. It's not all the way up to marathon distance. You don't necessarily need to.
It's typically 3 weeks out from the race itself.
3-4 weeks from the race.
Yep.
So this is the peak, and everything goes it's to the race from here.
Yep.
So I wanted to run the course just to practice like going that distance and being familiar with the trail systems and like where I was at. So I started in Kincaid Park and started running along the coastal trail from there, which goes to Point Warrenzoff around towards Chester Creek, Campbell Creek area, all that good stuff. And along the way, so from Kincaid to Point Warrenzoff is about 5 miles. And it was at this 5 mile mark that I'm coming up the hill towards the parking lot for Point Warrenzoff. And I see this biker kind of stop on the trail in front of me, and they're staring me dead in the face. I was like, okay, they have something to tell me, but what is it? So as I start running up to them, they just point over the shoulder and say, there's a bear over there, by the way. And I said, okay, cool. So I look up ahead, and I see, sure enough, running up the road away from where I was a small brown bear. I was like,
It was brown in color, but it turned out it was a cinnamon bear.
Yeah, there's called a cinnamon bear, which is
it's a black bear, technically.
It's a small black bear variant.
Light-colored hair.
Lighter color, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was like a very young grizzly, so I thought I was looking for mom.
I think in the video you said a grizzly bear charged me.
I think, yeah, in the video, a grizzly bear charged me. Oh, no!
I was like, I don't think it was a grizzly, but...
Yeah. So I thought it was like a young grizzly at first because of the brown color, because I didn't know about cinnamon bears. I learned something new.
Yes.
But I see it running up the road, and there's a bunch of... this section of road along Point Warrenzoff is very popular
Tons
for
of traffic,
tourists.
yeah.
There's like... the trail system is very popular. The beach is popular.
Yeah, people
there.
biking.
The planes take off over the top of this.
Lots of cars.
Yeah, so there's lots of movement going along. So this bear is very distracted. Like as it's like trying to walk up here, it's got a guardrail and then the forest and then the trail that I was running on. And because I saw it was distracted by all of the stuff on the road, I thought maybe I could sneak along behind it or like along the trail system away from it. Because I could see it as I was running the trail. So as I got closer, I could see it was up on the hill behind me, all this good stuff.
You have an eye on it.
It's like, should be fine. Like, as long as you just keep your distance and know what it's doing. So I decided to keep running, and this section of trail goes downhill and then gets really steep before you come up over the hill. Mm-hmm. And you get this big forested section where there's lots of trees and underbrush before you get up to the field on the top of the hill. And of course, the road runs along that. So I lose sight of the bear just as I'm coming up the middle of this hill. Well, the last thing that I saw was it had stopped, and there were people in like a tourist shuttle, like taking pictures and making noise. So I thought the bear had just stopped. And I kept running. I was like, great, I'm in the clear. I can keep going. So I get up this hill, and I see where the guardrail and the forested section ends. So this is where I would run into the bear if I saw it. And I looked, and I didn't see it. I came around the corner, still going up the hill. I got the field next to me. I still didn't see it. I was like, perfect, amazing. I escaped. So I'll keep running. So I'm still running up the hill, and then I hear from the road somebody yell, "Look out behind you." And I turn around, and that cinnamon bear is like the distance from me to this camera. Like,
Oh my god.
it was so close. And we'll pop a picture up here.
Yeah.
This is when I noticed
somebody
it.
took pictures while you were getting basically like chased.
Yeah, the guy that shouted at me, Jim, thank you, Jim, shouted out to me and told me about the bear. And then that photo that you just saw is when I first noticed where it was.
Yeah.
And it was running at me. So I just kept running, which was a terrible decision,
Oh,
really.
jeez. You don't run from bears.
Exactly. And I kind of thought about that because I was still in the zone. Like,
Yeah.
I had no emotions or feelings. I wasn't necessarily like super scared
Yeah.
at all or like out of control
Sure.
because I was just like going.
Yeah.
But I turned around. I was like, running is prey behavior.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I
probably
stopped.
walk.
I stopped and turned around. And as soon as I turned around, the bear just ran right past me, like just right next to me, about my hip height, and it just went whoop right by me.
Oh my
I
gosh.
was like, okay, cool. So I just started backing up into the grass field, towards the road, towards this guy, Jim, in the truck that was beckoning me towards him, telling me to get in the back of his truck. And there's so many like tourist shuttles and cars on the road. Like, there's people honking and making noise, people getting out of their cars to take pictures as tourists. There were like families in this field that were watching the planes with strollers and like little kids running around.
Mm-hmm.
There were these cyclists that were up in front of me that were trying to like hop back on their bike, and they couldn't because the hill was too steep.
Yeah.
And the bear's running after them now.
Oh, that's scary.
So there's just chaos.
Yeah.
And as I got off the trail and towards the road, I was like, okay, Ed, what is this bear doing? Can I
Yeah.
get back on the trail? Can I keep doing my 20-mile run? Like, I'm having an adrenaline spike at mile 5.
Yeah.
And I still have 15 miles to go.
You're on a 20-mile run.
I've got to meet Seth down the trail. I told him I'd be there at a certain time.
So Jim gives you a ride from here.
Yeah, so at this point, I see that the cinnamon bear is just starting to run down the trail.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I got to go that way. This isn't going to work.
Yeah.
So I hop in Jim's truck, and he's like, "You got super lucky there, man." And I was like, "Thank you."
Yeah.
And then I have him take me down to Earthquake Park, which is about a mile down the way. So I skip a mile of my run.
Yep.
And then he drops me off. I look over my shoulder to see if the bear is catching up already, and I don't see it. So I just keep
Take
running.
off. Yeah.
And then eventually I meet you.
We met up, and then the story
the
is
story.
told. Yeah, on video. So that was a fun time. And so fast forward 3 weeks from your long run day, and it's race day.
Race day.
How you feeling? What's the vibes?
Yeah. So the story that I keep telling people about, especially not even just the 3 weeks leading up, like a week and a half, 2 weeks up to the race, it felt like the morning of a 5K in high school.
Yeah.
Like,
The nerves
you're
were
getting on the
there.
bus, the nerves are like starting to come up. You're getting up to the race line, you're like warming up, all this stuff. I had that feeling extended over 10 days.
Yeah.
So
That's exhausting.
day of the race felt like I was on the start line. Like, there's nothing else left to do. It's that moment where bang, the gun goes off. So all morning was just like ultra zen.
Really?
I was just so chill.
Because you already had the nerves.
The nerves at all, I'd burned through all of them.
Nerves didn't exist anymore.
For
It's like,
days.
we're doing this. I'm ready. I'm prepared.
Yeah, it's not even that it didn't feel real. It's just like,
It didn't feel like a big deal.
it didn't feel like a big deal
Yeah.
anymore. because like I said, I'd burned through all of that.
Yeah.
So I get there. I woke up at 4 a.m. super early. I make myself some French toast as my morning meal, and I drive myself out to one of the shuttles to take you to the start line. And then I was there so early that I just got to sit and watch the sunrise, basically. Well, sun was already up, but
Yeah.
yeah, just got to hang out and chill, listen to the music. My friends started showing up eventually before I started to warm up. So we were hanging out, having a conversation. Like I said, it didn't feel like a big deal. We were just there to have fun.
Yeah.
And start warming up.
Was the weather decent?
The weather was great.
Yeah.
I thought it was supposed to be thunderstorms and
No.
everything, rain. Nope.
It has been in the
Blue
past. Yeah, you
skies.
got pretty lucky for
Blue
sure to have that.
Lucky
kind
Lackey.
Yeah,
And the
there
weather
it
comes back
is.
again. So yeah, I had great weather. It was amazing. I felt great that morning. It was hot, so I knew I was gonna be sweating a lot more than normal. And like, I knew in my mind through the training and the practices and watching Philly's videos,
Yeah.
it's like these are the things you need to be thinking about in terms of like fueling, electrolytes, water.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, here we go. I know what I got to do. They called us all to the start line. They started doing the opening ceremonies. The countdown starts from 30. I don't know. I think it was 30. Maybe it was like 10. But they started the countdown. I'm sitting there. I'm staying loose. I'm staying warm. And then gun goes and off we go.
Yeah.
And I started like it was a 5K.
No, you did? It's a
But
marathon, not a sprint.
there's a great clip that my friends have. Maybe we'll see this on socials or it'll come up here one of the ways. But I come around the first corner like 200 yards down the trail. I'm first. And I said, see you in a few hours as I turn the corner. I'm right on the tail of the
Oh
bikes.
my gosh. That's
And
hilarious.
From Kincaid, for those of you who don't know the course very well, it's just downhill for the first mile.
So you're
I
taking
am
advantage of that.
cooking.
Yeah, and good runners do know how to take advantage of hills, right?
Yeah, I just decided to send it. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm already up here. I'm in the front. And I took off. I heard the footsteps fading behind me. I was getting so far ahead. And mile one, I was the first one to cross like mile one. I was like,
What was your first mile pace?
I think I saw 5:18 is what it was.
5:18?
Yeah, I
And
was
your goal pace is 6:40?
I was cooking,
Oh
dude.
my gosh, you're not supposed to do that.
I know.
For anybody training for any kind of running race,
Yeah.
stick to the plan.
Stick to the plan. So my plan was to go fast for
So-
the first mile because I knew it was downhill. I didn't expect it to go that fast.
First leg, 5:18.
First mile, 5:18. I'm like, let's
What
go.
was your second mile?
So, yeah, but at mile one, I knew how fast I was going, and
Too
then
fast.
I was hearing the guys starting to come up behind me. I was like, I got to at least stick with them. So I just slowed down to the front runners and just kind of paced with them for a little while until mile two. And mile two, I can't remember exactly what it was.
5:40 maybe?
I think I slowed down pretty quick. I think I
Okay.
hit like
You
a
were 6 minutes.
6:20, something
Okay.
like that. Still really fast.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, cool. This is still too fast. It feels good. Like, because I feel like I'm running a 5K. Because like, this is slower than I normally go. Here we go.
Yeah.
So I continue backing off until mile three. And at mile three, I hit like, I'm on the 6:40 mark now.
Okay.
And I've got a good group of guys I'm running with. I think there's literally only 4 people ahead of me at this point. And I got a group of like 6 that I was running with. So we were all right there, like pack of just going. So mile 3, 4, 5, we're coming up to Warrenzoff, peak the hill. I'm still with this group, doing great. It's amazing. Weather feels fantastic. I'm feeling amazing. Hit mile 6. I'm like, I probably don't need to go this fast. So I start backing off.
Yeah.
Let people go by. I'm watching the people go by and thinking in my mind, it's like, okay, what place am I in right now? I'm in this place. Okay, cool.
But it doesn't matter what
It
place
doesn't really
you're
matter.
in. You got to go by the time.
I know.
Because you want to qualify for Boston, that takes a certain time. Nobody cares about how
yeah.
many people finish.
And
in front of
the
you.
reason I was counting people is because I knew from previous years roughly where that 3-hour mark is by the number of people
Yeah.
that are
Gotcha.
ahead of
Oh,
you.
gotcha. I see.
And I didn't have access to a watch, so I didn't have anything to look at. I only knew because I was talking to the like cyclists and the people around me. I was like, okay, what time are we at?
You don't wear a watch when you run?
The watch I do have is busted.
It broke?
It's busted. I don't know what the problem is, but I had my phone in my hydration pack that I was running with. So I started that and then threw it in there while I was running.
Nice.
so I get out there, I'm running, having a great time, and progressively slowing down until I think by mile 13, which is where you had caught me on the 20-mile run,
Yeah.
I was still like feeling great.
Yeah.
My friends caught me there, cheering me on. It was fantastic. Felt great. My looking at the videos, my pace and my like how relaxed I was right where it should be.
Yeah.
And I came in right where I was anticipating. Hour 32 minutes or something like that. Hour 35
For the half.
for the half, which is dead on where
Where
I
you wanna
should have
be.
been if
Yeah.
I wanted to really pick up the second half and then hit a sub 3.
Yeah.
So I was super great. Continuing to go on, I think by mile 16, yeah, I think it was 16, and I think this is also where you got to witness during my 20-mile run, where things were like really starting to like
break down a little bit. Yeah. You're like, I got to stop. You
I was
stop,
like, yeah, having to
stretch.
slow down and stretch. And mile 16, I was really starting to feel it. Like I was eating fruit snacks as my
Yeah.
carbs, as
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
fueling.
Yeah. The Annie's fruit snacks.
Yeah, and they're really gummy, they're great. They go down easy. They don't feel too terrible. But when you start to stack so many of them,
Yeah. It starts to mess with
dude,
your
I felt
stomach.
like I was about to throw up at like mile 16,
Oh
17,
no.
and I was like,
Still got
I
10
gotta.
miles left.
I know I had so much left to do, so I started slowing down a little bit more just to see if that would help. Maybe I could pick up the pace later, make up some of the time on these other downhill sections because everything in this area is uphill, up to like 18, mile 18, mile 19, and it just kept getting worse. And I thought I was gonna like throw up. I was like, I can't. Like, I mean, because I need the fuel. So
Yeah.
I
You
need,
can't
I
throw
need
it
to
all
keep
up.
everything.
Yeah.
I need to keep everything in me.
Hydration wise too.
Yeah, hydration, everything would go terribly if that was the case. So I just slowed down and did what my body needed. I started separating out when I was taking the fuel a little bit more, so I didn't take in as much, but just enough to keep going. And then by mile 19, my legs were starting to cramp up pretty bad.
Oh no.
So I stopped. I started walking a little bit and like stretched out my legs. I like pulled up my ankle to stretch my quads and tried to stretch out my hamstring, and then I got a massive cramp.
No.
Everything in my left hamstring just tightened up, and I almost couldn't walk.
Oh no.
And I was like, ain't no chance. So I just like stopped immediately stretching, walked it out just a little bit until I felt like I could run, and then just went. I was like, I can't stop again.
You can't stop again.
I can't stop
No,
again.
you can't stop after going that pace. Your body will shut
So
down.
at this point, like from mile 16 on, I started slowing down pretty significantly.
Yeah.
If you look at my paces and
Splits.
look at my splits online, I started slowing down pretty good. I was still like pretty far ahead because I'd kept a pretty strong pace through this whole thing. And by mile 22, so we're in like the last, this is farther than I've ever run before.
Yeah.
This is like the last, not even 10K to the finish line. 10K easy run. Like that was what I was doing in the middle of my training block, is just easy 5-mile runs. I can do these all day. I was like, okay, cool.
This is it. This is my easy 5
This
miler.
is the easy 5-miler. I know I can do this. Let's go.
Your pace is a little slower. That's
It's fine. So I would run a mile from 22 to 23, and at 23, my body would like kill me. And it's like, you need to stop. So I stopped. I like stretched out a little bit,
Oh, no.
walked. I went another mile. I stopped, stretched out a little bit, walked for a second, went another mile. And then that was just how I finished the race.
Oh wow.
I got all the way out, and then from mile 25 to 26, they don't have a marker for 26. It's just to the finish line.
Oh, got it. Yeah, yeah.
So this is like the last hill going up N Street. This is where the half marathon lines up with the marathon people. So there's more people on the track now. There's lots of energy. Like you're getting closer to the finish line. So that's just where all the people that are watching are at.
Yeah.
You can feel the energy in the air, like as you come through these tunnels, like really start to lift. Like
Yeah.
people are excited. You can tell that the runners around you
They're
are
starting
like,
to
we're almost
speed up a
done."
little bit.
People speeding up, and I started to feel that energy. And I was
Yeah.
like, I can, like, this is it. I'm here. I've
I'm
made
gonna
it.
finish this thing.
So I come running up the hill, and I see people from my running group way out ahead of me. Like they're cheering people on as they go. Shout out Skinny Raven for doing that. And I see like the coaches and my run club mates. Like they catch me. I'm like, let's go. I still have like super high energy, and like it's all starting to come back. I'm feeding off their energy,
Yeah.
and then I'm sprinting up this hill. They're all like running up with me, doing that, doing the classic like support thing, which is
Yeah.
great. Get up to the finish line. There's tons of people. I'm just sprinting. I see my friends, more energy, running even faster. Come around the finish line, and then finish the race.
It's over.
It's over. It was done.
You get your
Got
medal,
got
show
the
off the
medal.
medal. Yeah.
If we're stuck here, yeah, I got the medal. I finished. It's true.
It's true.
I did it. So
Nice medal.
it's heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we made it. We finished. Marathon finisher.
And what was your time?
And we finished with a 3:26:11, I think is what it was.
What's that pace come out to for mile
Like
pace?
7:44.
7:44 pace.
7:44 pace.
Quite a stretch from your
So-
first mile to
Yeah,
the
so
last.
yeah, I think the last mile actually, I went and looked. I think it was even though I was sprinting,
Yeah.
like from mile 25 to onwards, I think it was like a 9-minute pace
Yeah.
or something like so from like 5:18 at the very beginning to a
9-minute mile
something.
at the end. You got to get that more evened out.
Yeah, you look at my paces and it's just one downhill
Yeah.
line, which is the opposite of what you want to do. But
No. Yeah. You learn though.
yeah, again, like I said, the whole point of this marathon was to learn.
Yep.
I wanted to know if I liked it, if I enjoyed it.
Well, you
how
went
everything
from
went.
shooting for a sub 3 hour.
Yeah,
in
so-
your first bit.
I picked this up from Philly. She has A, B, and C goals.
Oh.
So your A goal is whatever, like you're going to push yourself, and this is going to be like you're going to really have to work for this one.
Yeah.
Like this is a stellar day. Would be a sub 3. So if I Boston qualified on my first marathon, that's an A goal. B goal was 3:15. At my half marathon spot, that was very reasonable.
Very reasonable. Yeah.
Mile 16, still very reasonable. But as I was starting to get to mile 22, I was like, I got to bail.
Yeah.
Like, that's not going to work. I'm not going to stop the marathon. I will finish. Like, that is my bare
So
minimum.
your C goal would have been just to finish.
My
I
C
think.
goal was just to finish.
Yeah.
And I did that.
Yeah.
So
And
I failed at the first two, but
but you still qualified for Boston.
no.
Oh, you didn't? You missed the
Boston
qualifier?
qualifier is sub 3 hours.
Oh, it was sub 3 hours. Oh,
Yeah.
shit.
So,
So you're going to have to run another marathon? What's next for Nathaniel Lackey?
yeah. So that's what I've got to figure out at this point. I don't know if I necessarily liked running the marathon. It was a fun challenge.
I told you it was a sufferfest.
I enjoyed it, and I felt amazing afterwards. It was the best I felt after any run that I'd ever done.
You had the
Because
runner's high.
I had the runner's high. I wasn't like sore. I didn't have a headache like I normally do.
Oh.
Like all of these other things. Like it was like a perfect run. I'd done exactly what I needed to do.
Yeah.
So, what's in the future? Am I going to run another marathon?
Yeah.
Am I not? My take as of right now is I would be open to running another one. It would be if I've worked on my speed enough. So I want to go do some of these shorter races and just build up some of my speed, continue building that endurance. Because again, this is my first marathon. The longest race I had done before this was a 5K.
Yeah. Yeah, you went from 5K.
I had never even done a 10K race before.
Yeah. Race-wise, but you did a bunch of runs.
Race
that
wise,
were
I've
above.
done
Yeah.
longer runs,
Yeah, longer
and
runs.
whatever,
Yeah.
but never raced a distance
Yeah.
like that. So, in the meantime, I think I want to build up races and know how to race some of these longer distances. So,
To work on your pace, too, to not go out at a
Pacing.
5.8. Your first mile should almost be your slowest mile.
exactly.
And you should work up or down
Exactly.
on the time.
So, I think in the meantime, what I'm going to do is build up to that. If I have an opportunity to join a charity team or
Oh, yeah.
something like that, that would probably be how I'd get into Boston if I were to try and do that for next April.
Got it.
Or if maybe Chicago is another one that I could do, New York, etc. Any of these would be, okay, let's just join a team that's already
Yeah.
there,
Yeah.
help raise some money for something,
Yeah.
and
Cool.
so I think that's where I'm headed.
That's what's next for you.
Mhm.
Well, I hope you get that money because you deserve it from the money you found. But I know you're not counting on it.
No, yeah.
It's a funny story though, nonetheless. Who finds $5,500 and immediately just gives it to the authorities.
Here. Yeah, that's ridiculous.
That was hilarious. But yeah, I appreciate you coming on and sharing your story and the triumph and the tribulations that it takes to run a marathon and train. The biggest thing is training for a marathon, I think, is the hardest part. Like, a lot of people can just go out there and walk a marathon if they need to. But
you can get the distance.
yeah, you actually had goals in mind and you were really disciplined about the training, and I commend you for that, because it's a lot of work, and it's actually noticeable. The way you live your life is very on that level, disciplined, and if you're going to do something, you're going to do it in a way that that is very strategic and planned out, and I respect the shit out of that, because that's important. So yeah, anything else you wanna end with here, or you want to share anything else? Any last for the people listening, words of wisdom or what you learned?
Life is a marathon, not a sprint. Don't go out at a 5:18 pace.
And there it is.
So yeah, that phrase is real. Yes. So life is a marathon, not a sprint.
There it is, and we can end on that.
Take it slow.
Thanks, buddy.